After the news of Eric's upcoming wedding spread, his childhood sweetheart kissed him in a dimly lit private lounge. The girl was smiling, but there were tears in her eyes. This year, I finally don't have to like you anymore. Everyone was stunned, sighing that Victoria had hidden it well. Eric flicked the cigarette in his hand that was about to go out and demanded, "When did it start?" She answered, "When I was 15. The next day, news of Eric calling off the wedding swept through Shanghai. My adoptive parents scolded me in disappointment. You were just one step away. 5 years of dating him can't compare to one sentence from that little girl. Eric only told me to wait a little longer, but I had already waited 5 years. This time, I didn't want to wait anymore." Chapter 1. I had just returned from the restroom and was about to push open the lounge door when I heard Victoria singing. She had just finished a song, Lonely Heart's Troubles. Smiling through tears, she leaned over and kissed Eric beside her. "This year, I finally don't have to like you anymore." Her best friend was crying her eyes out. "Victoria, you've had a crush on Eric for so many years. You're finally free." Someone couldn't believe what they were hearing. "Did I hear that right? You're saying the Victoria who grew up with us actually likes Eric?" "Victoria, why didn't you say anything? With all of us backing you up, Eric wouldn't dare bully you. What's the point of saying this now? Eric's about to get married." "You mean that adopted daughter? Victoria's been strong and kind since she was little. How could she possibly compare to Victoria?" Victoria looked at Eric with a pair of sparkling eyes. "Eric, happy wedding." Eric flicked the cigarette in his hand that was about to go out and pressed on. "When did it start?" "When I was 15. 15, that was the year she met Eric. It was also the year Eric spared no effort in lifting her up. If she liked a school abroad, it only took one word from Eric. At an age when love was just awakening, meeting someone like that, saying you've forgotten would only sound deliberate. When Eric drove me home, he didn't say a word. One cigarette after another, his heart was already in turmoil. When we arrived at the gates of the Jian family residence, he looked at me and said, "Julia, the wedding is postponed." My heartbeat seemed to stop in that instant. Unwilling to accept it, I asked, "Because of Victoria?" 5 years. I was the longest relationship Eric had ever had. There were always flocks of women around him, but he never gave any of them his heart. People said there was a white moonlight he loved but could never have. Except for me. No one knew who she was. Eric replied casually, "You've already waited 5 years. What's a little more time?" There wasn't a trace of emotion in his eyes. To him, calling off a wedding seemed no more remarkable than eating or sleeping. I let out a soft laugh. If I waited this time, I might be waiting forever. Chapter 2. When it came time to choose a marriage alliance partner, Eric chose me. The reason was simple. The day we met, you were wearing a blue dress. I liked it, but he wasn't in a hurry to get married. He said, "This time, I want to take it seriously. Why don't we start from dating?" From then on, Eric turned over a new leaf, cutting off all ties with his Playboy world. He knew his boundaries and was gentle beyond belief. The first time we kissed, he pressed me against the car door and softly asked, "It's been 3 months. When are you planning to kiss me?" None of Eric's previous girlfriends had ever lasted more than 3 months. When friends teased him about becoming a monk, he only frowned and defended me. "Julia is different from them. Let's not bring up the past." During a game of truth or dare, Victoria lost. Everyone egged her on, asking if she had someone she liked. Blushing, half shy and half reluctant, she gave her answer, "Yes, he's here." Eric's ink-dark pupils shrank slightly. He swallowed a mouthful of strong liquor and said nothing. Victoria's best friend, Roxana, nudged Eric with her elbow. "Eric, what about you? Do you have someone you like?" They grinned mischievously, as if they had forgotten that I was still sitting there. Eric raised his arm and pulled me into his embrace. "Isn't that obvious?" Roxana seemed about to say something, but Victoria quietly tugged her back. When the gathering ended, Roxana stopped us. "Eric, why don't you take Victoria home tonight, like you used to?" Victoria shook her head. "Roxana, Eric already has a girlfriend. Don't make things difficult for him." Eric paused, the hand playing with his lighter freezing mid-motion. Smiling, he said, "Victoria probably wouldn't want me to take her home. After all, She already has someone she likes. Everyone thought he was joking. Only I knew he was sulking, sitting in the passenger seat beside him. I clutched my seatbelt tightly and asked, "Do you like Victoria?" He slammed on the brakes. My heart nearly leapt out of my chest. At the intersection, he had almost run a red light. Eric was frank. "I've liked her for 8 years. You're the first one to notice. But you heard her too. There's someone in her heart. It's not me." I pretended to look out at the scenery, secretly wiping away my tears. Eric pinched my chin and turned my face toward him. "Don't cry, Julia. I still have one more thing to say. From this year on, my heart belongs entirely to you." The vow feels as if it were only yesterday. Perhaps his heart never fully belonged to me, but it certainly once belonged to Victoria. Chapter 3. The second year of our relationship. On Victoria's birthday, Eric didn't go. He only had his assistant deliver the gift. Victoria posted the gift on social media. It was a ring made from a rib bone. Holding my phone, I didn't know whether to feel angry or disappointed. More than anything, I was afraid I would never squeeze my way into Eric's heart. Eric held me and coaxed softly. "The gift was prepared before I got together with you. It was the last promise I ever made to her. From now on, I'll never celebrate her birthday again." The way he said it sounded more like he was convincing himself. For the first time, I brought up breaking up. "It's just the way I've always been. If something is destined not to be mine, I won't fight for it." Before I fall in too deep, I cut my losses in time. Eric showed absolute sincerity. It was a share transfer agreement. He gave me half of the shares of the family company under his name. Eric said, "I know sweet words don't work on you. A ring made from a rib can't compare to sharing glory and hardship with you, Julia. From now on, we're the real family." My principles were broken. Love, how could it not involve hardship? How could there be no suspicion, no arguments? What man doesn't have a past? That was how naively I persuaded myself. Chapter 4. The news of Eric calling off the wedding spread throughout Shanghai. My adoptive father, Nestor, flung the newspaper into my face. "How did you handle this? The wedding was practically set in stone, and you still managed to ruin it? You were just one step away. 5 years of dating him can't compare to one sentence from that little girl." My adoptive mother, Monica, tried to soothe him while turning to me. "Julia, your father and I didn't raise you easily. Marrying into a family like Eric's, we gave that opportunity to you, not your sister. I always thought your sister was still young, not as sensible or as smart as you. So how could you fail to seize the chance and disappoint us like this?" The Nestor couple had been childless in their early years. They adopted me from an orphanage. First, as charity for the media to see. Second, because being childless is inevitably lonely. But less than a year after adopting me, Monica became pregnant. From then on, I became the only outsider in the family. For the sake of reputation, they wouldn't drive me away. All these years, they raised me to be a wealthy family's wife, hoping I could provide one last bit of value. Unfortunately, it all came to nothing. A gentleman judges actions, not intentions. I will repay the kindness of raising me, but not through a marriage alliance. I looked at them solemnly. "Sir, madam, I'm willing to immigrate to Canada." Monica was somewhat surprised. "Back then we wanted to send you to Canada and you refused. Why now?" "Back then, they made me choose either marry into wealth or go to Canada. In any case, I was never to compete for the family fortune. I had no interest in those things, but no one would believe me. If not for Eric, I would have chosen to go abroad. After all, before meeting him, I had never thought about getting married." Monica looked at Nestor, waiting for the head of the family to decide. Nestor nodded. "In Canada, you'll just be a small employee. You'll never have to worry about food or clothing for the rest of your life. Once I've arranged everything over there, you'll leave immediately." When I went abroad, everyone felt at ease. Chapter 5. I went to Eric's apartment to pack up my belongings. Over the years, I had spent more time here than at my adoptive mother's house. While clearing out the wardrobe, I discovered a hidden compartment. Inside was a wrinkled photograph. There were 3 people in it: Roxana, Victoria, and Eric. Victoria was looking at the camera, While Eric was looking at her, she was wearing a long blue dress, smiling sweetly and boldly. I stood there in a daze for a long time before quietly putting the photo back where it had been. Eric pushed the door open, his suit jacket casually draped over his shoulder. He carried her perfume on him. He asked offhandedly, "Are you going on a trip or a business trip?" "When?" "I'll take you to the airport." I wanted to say I was going home, but realized nowhere was truly my home. "I'm not going anywhere. I just don't want to stay here." His hand paused mid-motion as he tugged at his tie, and he turned his head toward me. "Throwing a tantrum? Call it whatever you like. Because of Victoria?" I put down the clothes in my hand and smiled faintly. "Not because of Victoria, but because you can't forget Victoria." He clenched his jaw. "Victoria doesn't like me. You know that." He didn't even refute me. I let out a mocking laugh. I had heard everything clearly outside that private lounge that day, and Eric still thought he could smooth it all over. Looking at his flawless, unreadable expression, I suddenly realized he had never changed. He kissed me calmly. He lied to me calmly. I said evenly, "Eric, there's no need to postpone the wedding. Let's cancel it." He clicked his tongue. "Julia, how did I never notice you're so unreasonable?" Someone had once called me unreasonable too. It was Nestor and Monica. Eric had walked in at that moment, and without a word, stood in front of me. Even he, who was always courteous to elders, had lost his temper that time, scolding my future wife. "I don't think your family has that qualification. What goes around comes around." Eric raised his hand and pressed down on the suitcase I had already packed. "I'll ask you one last time. Are you going to keep throwing a tantrum? Call it whatever you like." He suppressed his anger. "Fine. If you walk out, don't come back. Plenty of people are lining up to be my wife. Don't be so ungrateful." I imitated Victoria and said to him, "Then I wish you, young master, a happy wedding." Chapter 6. I booked a hotel, planning to make do there for a while, when a friend invited me to her birthday party. I declined, because I didn't want to run into Eric. She called me, "Julia, you're not even coming to your best friend's birthday? That's harsh." I smiled. "I sent the gift to your place. I've been busy lately. I might not make it." "I understand." I didn't invite Eric. "I really hope you'll come cut the cake with me." At that point, I couldn't refuse. I dressed casually and went out. Lily really was waiting for me to cut the cake. Eric really wasn't there, because sitting in the very center of the private room was Victoria. Lily leaned close to my ear and explained, "Eric asked me to take care of her. I don't dare disobey him." "Julia, you understand, right?" Everyone wanted me to understand them. If I were taking the college entrance exam this year, my reading comprehension score would probably be excellent. Victoria picked up a glass of wine and walked toward me. "I heard that Miss Julia and Eric canceled the engagement because of me. I'll punish myself with a drink." After saying that, she drained the entire glass. Quite a few people spoke up for her. "Victoria, you've never done anything wrong. You don't need to apologize to anyone. If someone couldn't hold on to Eric's heart, that has nothing to do with you." "Someone call Eric quickly. Victoria only listens to him." Victoria poured herself another glass. "But Julia, I really like Eric. I have no parents. I've worked since I was young to pay for my own schooling. Eric has helped me so much. Forgive me. I can't just hand him over." Tears slid down her cheeks. I reached out, snatched the glass from her hand, and smashed it into the corner. It shattered into pieces. "The performance is over. Victoria, I'm not Eric. I won't feel sorry for your tears." As I left, Lily apologized to me. I said calmly, "You have your difficulties, but you shouldn't have dragged me into this." Chapter 7. In the middle of the night, my door was knocked on urgently. Through the peephole, I saw Eric. We had been out of contact for over a week. He had come with anger. "You knew Victoria is allergic to alcohol, and you still forced her to drink?" I suddenly understood why Victoria had played the victim. The trick was childish and clumsy, but what did it matter? Eric believed her without question. Cold air clung to him, and I instinctively stepped back. I didn't force her to drink. She wanted to drink herself. "Why are you backing away? Feeling guilty?" Everyone there said you forced her to drink and smash the glass. and she cut her ankle because of it. Julia. Postponing the wedding was my decision. Canceling it was your choice. From beginning to end. It had nothing to do with Victoria. I thought you had more backbone, and yet you turned around and made things difficult for her. He spoke with such certainty, such anger, as if I had committed some unforgivable crime. Victoria was the rose he had nurtured. He would not allow anyone to touch her, including me. I shook my head helplessly. So that's the kind of person I am in your eyes. Eric irritably took out his lighter. After a moment's thought, he shoved it back into his pocket. Julia, you waited 5 years for me. What's a little longer? Why be jealous of Victoria? I've said before, the position of Mrs. Eric will sooner or later be yours. You're too impatient. You've really disappointed me. Perhaps Eric had forgotten. When his family faced a crisis, he had proposed breaking up, saying he didn't want to drag me down. I refused and told him, I can give up everything. I just want to be your wife. When I was younger, I was always firm. I would never step into the grave of marriage. I didn't like moths flying into flames. Back then, I had never loved anyone. I didn't know how powerful love could be. Powerful enough that I was willing to give up everything to marry him. Eric's phone rang. It was Victoria. Eric, I'm scared when you're not by my side. Can you come stay with me? Eric lifted his eyelids and scrutinized me. Julia, do you think I should go or not? Whether you go or not is up to you. You're not welcome to stay here. He ended the call and slammed the door behind him. Chapter 8. This time, Eric was truly angry. He struck hard at my adoptive father's family. Furious and exasperated, Nestor summoned me home. Useless. You ruin more than you accomplish. Figure out how you're going to clean up this mess. Monica began playing the good cop again. Julia, Eric doesn't have any other demands. He only wants you to personally go to his house and apologize to his future wife. I froze. Who is his wife? A girl with no background. Poor. I think her name is Victoria. Eric said it himself. The entertainment reporters just haven't published it yet. She stepped forward and held my hand. Julia, your father and I promise you, if you go apologize and help the family through this crisis, we'll send you to Canada immediately. The one who tied the knot must untie it. If I didn't go, Eric wouldn't let it rest. Just as I expected. When I arrived at his house, Eric was sitting on the sofa, with a timid-looking Victoria beside him. I got straight to the point. Young master, what will it take for you to let them go? Eric said. Apologize. He knew I would rather break than bend. My pride was everything to me. All eyes were on me. Victoria gently tugged at Eric's sleeve. Forget it. Eric, don't force her. Eric's eyes were fixed deeply on me. Julia, I told you before, if you don't want the position of Mrs. Eric, there are plenty who do. Now, apologize to my future wife. He wouldn't stop until he broke my spine. I poured myself a glass of wine. I raised it toward Eric. I have no obligation to apologize to a mistress. Victoria's face changed, and she hurried to explain. I cut her off. Likewise, I have no obligation to listen to a mistress explain herself. I drained the glass in one gulp. The first glass is because I know my place. My family is nothing more than ants before yours. I begged the young master to show mercy. The second glass is because I've offended the young master by refusing to apologize to a mistress. I beg you not to hold it against me. The third glass is to hope that once I walk out this door, whatever feelings we had are written off. From now on, we'll only deal with each other in business. 3 glasses down, the burn scorched my heart, lungs, and stomach. Eric's face was taut, his expression so severe it looked like he could devour someone. Strange. Isn't this what he wanted? The white moonlight he could never have was finally in his arms, and the current girlfriend wasn't making a scene, willingly stepping aside. What else could he possibly be dissatisfied with? Chapter 9. The whiskey was too strong. That very night, I suffered stomach pain and was sent to the hospital for gastric lavage. As I tossed and turned in bed, I thought to myself, if I had known, I wouldn't have drunk that much. One relationship had left me exhausted in both body and mind. When I was discharged, I assumed no one would come to pick me up. Instead, Amelia stood there in a coffee-colored coat, leaning lazily against the doorframe, mocking me. Haven't seen you for a few days. You look quite a mess. The parents who had raised me for over 20 years didn't come. The boyfriend I had loved for 5 years didn't come. The one who came was the sister with whom I shared no blood. Amelia plopped down on the bed and watched me pack. Julia, you know I've hated you since we were kids. Mom and Dad doted on you. If you wanted to go out and play, they agreed without a word. And me? If I didn't get full marks, I was beaten half to death. When you were getting married, they lined up the best men in Shanghai for you to choose from. When I dated someone, it was like I deserved to be torn to pieces. Why does everyone like you? I'm the biological daughter. After hearing her out, I only sighed. The fact that Amelia could say such things proved how much Nestor and Monica loved her all these years. They had spoiled her into being naive, almost foolish. Amelia. But in the end I was nothing more than a tool for marriage alliances, or a discarded pawn to be sent overseas. Have you ever thought that all these years, it wasn't that they didn't dote on you, but that they carefully cultivated you, worrying about your future, afraid you might take even one wrong step? When parents love their child, they plan for the long term. Amelia's expression froze. There was a knock on the door. Victoria stood at the entrance. She had grown even more refined, dressed head to toe in luxury brands. Julia, I'm here to deliver something to you. She handed me a red wedding invitation, her face brimming with pride. Eric said you wouldn't believe we're getting married, so he asked me to personally bring the invitation to celebrate your discharge from the hospital. Amelia let out a cold laugh and lit a cigarette, waving it in front of Victoria. So you're the mistress who inserted herself into someone else's relationship? Julia lost to a lowlife like you? Unbelievable. Victoria's face turned pale, then flushed with anger as she glared at Amelia. The one who isn't loved is the mistress. Don't you know that? Oh really? Amelia smirked. Today you can pry this man away. Tomorrow some other woman can pry him away from you. What will you do then? Become the fourth? I heard that. Victoria went back to Eric and cried bitterly. She said Amelia and I ganged up on her and bullied her for nothing. How Eric would retaliate against my adoptive father's family this time had nothing to do with me anymore. I booked a flight for the day after tomorrow and planned to leave early in the morning. Chapter 10. Amelia made a big show of preparing a farewell dinner. For her, my departure was something worth celebrating. After drinking too much juice, I went out to use the restroom. Passing through the brightly lit corridor, a familiar voice reached my ears. Eric, you know we've all been hoping you and Victoria would end up together, right? It was Roxana. It sounded like a group of them were having dinner. Victoria sounded a little embarrassed. Roxana, don't tease me. Only our friends know about this. It hasn't been officially announced yet. Roxana smiled at Eric. Your wife is calling you out. Aren't you going to respond? Eric seemed distracted and didn't reply. Someone else chimed in. Julia won't be unwilling to accept it. Will she? After dating someone like Eric, it's probably hard to let go. She doesn't have the chance anymore. I heard she's being sent abroad. Eric looked up. When? The person seemed flustered. I'm not sure either. Maybe it's just a tactic to provoke you. You know how women are. They always hope men will coax them. But Eric, do you really not have her in your heart anymore? I don't mean to pry, but Victoria is like a little sister we've known since childhood. I don't want you to hurt her. Eric let out a scoff. Why should I have her in my heart? She was the one who insisted on canceling the wedding. Am I, Eric, supposed to chase after her? I quietly watched his profile. So indifferent, as if he had never loved me. And yet this was the same man who once said sincerely, Julia, from now on, we'll be family. Vows of eternal love are best taken lightly. After all, stories always begin with extraordinary tenderness, and so often end in disappointment. Chapter 11. Amelia insisted on driving me to the airport. On the way, her fingers tapped against the steering wheel again and again. Finally, she spoke. Julia, if you don't want to go to Canada, then don't. If Mom and Dad won't give you any of the family property, I'll give you part of mine. The shock in my heart was beyond words. Amelia smiled. Since we were kids, whenever Mom and Dad hit me, you were always the first to rush up and protect me. Remember the year I had puppy love and accidentally got pregnant with that scumbag's child? Mom and Dad were too ashamed to make a scene. How much did you pay those vocational school punks to beat him up? 50,000? He still thinks he offended some delinquent gang, ha ha ha. I couldn't help laughing out loud. The car happened to pull into the parking lot. Amelia said, "If you want to stay, we can turn back right now." I replied calmly, "Amelia, I'm leaving." She froze for a moment, then gave me a hug. "Big sister, I don't hate you at all. All these years, you've suffered at home." My eyes slowly grew moist. Before the tears could fall, I quickly got out of the car and walked into the airport. When the plane rose into the sky, I looked down at the ground below. So Shanghai was only this small. How could it possibly contain such earth-shaking love and hatred? I touched my cheek and found a trace of moisture. After more than 20 years, I was still reluctant to let go. All the memories exploded in an instant. My emotions surged back like a tide, lowering my head. I couldn't stop the tears from streaming down. In the end, I curled up in my seat, shrinking into myself. Chapter 12. Nestor arranged a useless position for me in a subsidiary company. The one who received me was a young CEO. He shook my hand politely. "Miss Julia, I've long heard of you." I glanced at the nameplate on the door. "Mr. Leo, where is my position?" Leo exchanged a few pleasantries and led me to the floor-to-ceiling window. An independent, luxurious workstation. The view outside was nice. Sunlight streaming in, perfect for retirement. I said bluntly, "I won't do this." Leo's expression didn't change. "Oh, then what does Miss Julia want to do?" "I know Nestor instructed you to keep me here as a useless ornament." "But Leo, I won't be a useless ornament. I want to be your assistant. You're the one with the most authority in this company. Only by following you can I actually learn something." He smiled just as politely. "Julia, being an assistant means being at my disposal 24 hours a day, not just serving tea and water when I'm in a bad mood. I might even take it out on you." I smiled as well. "Don't try to scare me. I know you have your considerations, but forgive me for being blunt. If I quit, Nestor will really take it out on you." Leo seemed thoughtful. Then he walked past me, took my ID badge from the so-called retirement desk, and placed it at the position closest to the CEO's office. "Assistant, welcome aboard." I slowly let out a breath. It had only been a week since I arrived in Canada when I received an overseas call. "You even ran abroad. Was that really necessary?" It was Eric. "It's just lowering your head and apologizing. The wedding would still be ours, no matter how much Victoria makes a fuss. My family would never allow me to marry her. You're smart, you should understand that." Eric had been adored by everyone since childhood. As if no matter how much I made a scene, as long as he bent down a little, I should return to his side. "Eric." I bowed my head for 5 years. "Not this time." He fell silent for a moment, as if compromising. "Fine, this time I'll lower my head. I'll come pick you up myself." Chapter 13. Leo truly treated me like hired help. Serving tea, pouring water, absorbing his temper, he did exactly as he said. But when meeting important clients, he would take me along. He always left me an escape route. "If you can't take it, go back to the retirement desk." I shook my head. "I can take it. I'm not going back." Late at night, only Leo and I remained in the company. His rule for me was simple: if the boss didn't leave work, neither could I. There was no such rule in Canada, but I could tell he was deliberately making things difficult for me. I accidentally fell asleep on my desk and was awakened by a wave of warmth. Leo's coat was draped over my shoulders. He came out of his office and handed me a file. "You'll be following up on this project from now on." Was this a tiny bit of trust? I nodded quickly. "You can rest assured." He jingled the car keys in his hand. "From now on, you don't need to work overtime. I'll drive you home." At 2 in the morning, Leo drove me back to my apartment. I dragged my exhausted body to my door. But something was wrong. The lock had been pried open. The lights inside were blazing. Eric sat conspicuously in the center of the living room. I didn't know whether he had come to make peace or to drag me back. Eric stubbed out his cigarette and asked irritably, "Who was that man just now?" "Your new lover?" "My boss." He stood up and walked toward me, his tall figure blocking the light. "Julia, I'm taking you home. I've immigrated. Shanghai is no longer my home," he said casually. "Wherever I am is your home. What does immigration matter?" When would Eric understand that he was no longer the center of my world, and I no longer revolved around him? Seeing that I didn't respond, he continued, "As long as you come back, we'll get married immediately. All the major media outlets will compete to report it. In Shanghai, no one will have more prestige than you." I finally snapped. "You don't seriously think I've just been throwing a tantrum and joking with you, but still loving you deep down, do you?" His expression showed confusion. "Isn't that the case?" To him, my departure was almost laughable, like raising a cat, no matter how much it scratches or how wild it acts outside. The owner always believes it will come home. Eric now seemed to be holding the scruff of my neck, asking when I would be done playing around. I said, "Eric, I don't love you anymore, you see." He looked as if he had just heard the funniest joke in the world. 5 years together and you say you don't love me anymore? Julia, you're almost 30, don't be childish. Fine, I'll go back with you, unless you're willing to send Victoria away. Eric's smile froze on his face. I tilted my head slightly. "You see, in our 5 years together, didn't you fall in love with someone else too?" Chapter 14. Eric didn't rush back to China. He rented the apartment next to mine. Sometimes when I stepped onto the balcony for some air, I would see him leaning against the railing, smoking. His gaze was fixed on the distance, as if he were seriously pondering some difficult problem. I remembered Eric once telling me that he was rarely confused, because most problems could be solved with money. And over the years, the only thing that had truly trapped him was probably his unrequited love for Victoria. Not long after he arrived, I received a call from Victoria. She was hysterical on the other end. "Julia, you're shameless, running abroad and putting on an act just to lure Eric over." I waited 8 years. He finally agreed to marry me. "Who do you think you are? What gives you the right to make him abandon me for you? You're really something, I can't compete with you." Her voice gradually trembled. She seemed to be crying. I turned to look at Eric on the neighboring balcony. "You heard that, didn't you?" I had put the call on speaker. Victoria's voice carried quite well. He made up his mind. "I'll send Victoria away. From now on, she won't set foot in Shanghai again." On the other end, Victoria's crying stopped abruptly. I hung up as well. Eric's tone was unusually anxious. "Julia, I never fell in love with her. I can do what I promised you. Come back to me." I let out a faint, contemptuous "oh." Too late. Chapter 15. I completed the project Leo assigned to me exceptionally well. He rarely made things difficult for me anymore. Today I got off work early, but I didn't want to go home. I found a nearby bar to pass the time. Rock music, strong drinks, a stage. No one knew me here. For a moment, my body and mind relaxed. Soon enough, a handsome foreigner approached me, in clumsy Chinese. He asked, "Are you free tonight?" I smiled without answering. He continued, "My place is nearby." Before he could finish, Leo suddenly appeared and sent him away. His face was unusually cold. "Do you have too little work? You'd even consider a man like that?" I shook my head innocently. "I don't want someone like him. He looks decent, but not as good as you." He scoffed. "Had a few drinks and now you dare to flirt with your boss?" Leo grabbed my arm, paid for my drinks, and pulled me out. Bars abroad are chaotic. The boss instructed me to ensure your safety. On the way home, I received a call from Amelia. "Sis, it's my birthday next month. Come home." I rubbed the edge of my phone, hesitating. She said generously, "If you don't want to come, I'll go see you." "Don't, miss. What I mean is, you'll have to reimburse my plane ticket. I'm a working woman now." She chuckled twice and agreed without hesitation. After I hung up, Leo suddenly said, "At the end of the year, I have to return to Shanghai for a report. We can go together." Ah, we weren't even close. Together. "The airfare can be reimbursed through finance." When Leo said that, he kept his eyes on the road, expression steady. The end of the year was still far away, compared to foreigners' straightforwardness. Chinese men were more interesting, saying one thing, meaning another, keeping everything hidden. When I got home and began packing my suitcase, Eric, this time, politely knocked on my door. With a dark expression, he asked, You said that was your boss. Since when does a boss personally drive an employee home after work? You reek of smoke and alcohol. Did you go bar hopping together? I shrugged helplessly. Yes, that's my boyfriend. Satisfied? My affairs have nothing to do with you. Don't meddle anymore. Eric looked shocked, disbelieving, and beneath it all, there was sorrow in his eyes. Perhaps only now did he realize that I truly would not stand still and wait for him anymore. Chapter 16. Sometimes, you really have to be careful with what you say. Somewhere along the way, Leo and I truly developed feelings for each other. He was the one who took the initiative to ask to be with me, and I agreed. To love for one day is still to love for one day, whether there is a future or not. I no longer mind. People, in the end, all change, but I cannot lose the right to enjoy love. Whenever Eric mentioned Leo, he was both angry and disdainful. In looks and wealth, he can't compare to me. If Julia doesn't even want me, sooner or later she won't want him either. But he was wrong, and I was wrong too. I found the courage to long for marriage a second time. This time, I won the gamble. Leo once told me, Julia, under Nestor, you will never be able to turn things around. I smiled and nodded. I had already let go of those matters. My plan was to gain real skills, then resign and move to another company. But Leo said, a pretty good company approached me and wants to poach me. My condition is simple. If I jump ship, I must secure the position of vice president for you. At that moment, my emotions were complicated. After so many years, he was the first person to consider my future. Or rather, his future included me. I said I wasn't mature enough, that I might not be capable of handling such an important position. Leo said, you still have me. Stand on my shoulders, however high I stand. That's how high you'll stand. I mailed a wedding invitation back home. After all, my love with Leo began on the day we celebrated Amelia's birthday together. Her reply surprised me for a long time. Because she wrote, half of the family property will be your dowry. I don't know how she convinced Nestor and Monica. After all, that was exactly what they were most unwilling to concede. One night, it suddenly dawned on me. Perhaps the one who convinced Nestor and Monica wasn't her. Chapter 17. On my wedding day, I was waiting for the makeup artist in the dressing room, but the one who arrived was Eric, standing in the lavish room, dressed in a white suit. He wore a bitter smile at the corner of his lips. Taking a few minutes of your time isn't too much to ask, is it? I smiled and shook my head. Eric took a deep breath and slowly began. I heard Leo is quite someone overseas. For a bride, her dowry is her prestige. It can't be lacking. I guessed correctly. You persuaded Nestor? Just in exchange of interests. The family shares I once promised you are included as part of the dowry. I'll add another 9%. That's too valuable. I can't accept it. He looked at me gently. You're worthy of it, Julia. For a long time, I never understood my feelings for Victoria. When she confessed to me, I truly wavered. But I thought, so what? Isn't it said that love can overcome all obstacles? We loved each other so much. I only hesitated. You would understand me and wait there obediently. The moment you said you were canceling the wedding, I was angry, unwilling to accept it. I even felt you had betrayed our love. Ridiculous, isn't it? I thought it was because you weren't magnanimous enough. I was wrong, and the price was losing you. I'm sorry, Julia. Tears shimmered in Eric's eyes. This might have been the first time he had ever cried. With a bitter smile, he said, don't let me ruin your mood. I just wanted to give myself some closure. I had already let go. Eric, we both have to move forward. He nodded, turned decisively, waved at me, and left. When Nestor walked me down the red carpet, I saw Eric standing in a corner. He was already in tears. In his life, Eric had only gambled with pride twice. Once, he lost Victoria, whom he had secretly loved for years. Once, he lost Julia, the woman he loved most. He hadn't lied. During the 5 years he was with Julia, both his body and heart belonged to her. It was only when the girl he had once admired in his youth suddenly confessed that he became confused. Was it love, or merely obsession? Relying on Julia's love, he made her wait and wait again. But one day, when he suddenly turned back, he realized they had already drifted in opposite directions, far apart. Time and again, he lowered his head, what seemed like generosity was, in truth, a plea. What saddened him most was that 5 years ago, Julia could see he was only acting out of pride. But now she had taken his angry words as truth. He regretted it deeply, but there was no remedy. In the end, Julia welcomed a new life, and he remained forever imprisoned in the past.